Few people admit it aloud, but deep down everyone feels it. Some people enter a room and everything changes. They don't raise their voices. They don't over-explain themselves. They don't demand attention. And yet they are heard, respected, and often feared. While most strive to please, convince, or prove their worth, these people simply exist. And the world adjusts. The uncomfortable truth is that power doesn't respond to excessive kindness, nor to naive transparency. Power responds to a cold reading of real human nature, something Machiavelli understood centuries ago when he stated that politics guided by reality, not by ideals, separates those who command from those who obey. Perhaps you've experienced the opposite. You've over-explained your intentions, asked for recognition, tried to be understood, and yet you were ignored, disrespected, or betrayed. Not for lack of value, but for excessive exposure. The world doesn't reward those who give themselves entirely. It rewards those who maintain center, control, and mystery. Here comes the statement that often generates controversy. Those who ask, lose. Truly powerful people don't ask for approval, space, or loyalty. They command because they've learned to balance silence, mask, and strength, avoiding being hated, but ensuring that crossing them has a cost. It's better to be feared than loved when done intelligently. In this video, you'll go through 10 stages of psychological transformation, based on Machiavellian principles applied to real life, not motivational fantasy. Each stage is designed to build an aura that doesn't shout, but makes others whisper your name. A presence that doesn't beg, doesn't pursue, and doesn't explain itself. In the end, you won't look powerful. You'll become someone your environment respects without understanding exactly why. And the question that remains, even before we begin, is simple and uncomfortable. What would change in your life if you stopped asking and started commanding? If something inside you awakened while listening, don't ignore that feeling. This channel isn't about videos, it's about memories. Remember who you were before the fear, before the exhaustion, before the silence. Each new video here is a different reflection of your own soul, an invitation to understand what the world never taught you. The power you seek outside has always been within you. If you feel that this journey speaks to what lives silently within you, sign up now, not to follow yet another creator, but to reconnect with something the world tried to make you forget. Because here, every word was made to heal, each reflection to awaken, and each video serves as a reminder. You are not alone on the path back to yourself. Click on subscribe and turn the algorithm into a daily reminder of who you really are. The experienced mentor knows that all true aura is born from a silent place, unwavering conviction. It's not rehearsed charisma, nor a posture borrowed from some book. It's the inner certainty of someone who has already decided who they are, where they are going, and what they no longer accept. When this conviction exists, the body responds before the mind, the gait slows, the gaze stabilizes, the breathing deepens. It is at this point that politics guided by reality, not by ideals, begins to operate. People sense when someone isn't asking permission to exist. And curiously, the less this person tries to prove something, the more the environment reorganizes itself around them, as if obeying an invisible law. Here, the end justifies the means not as a moral excuse, but as strategic clarity. First, the center is built, then the world reacts. This aura of inevitability strengthens when he learns to restrain his reactions. The average man reacts impulsively, over-explains himself, defends himself before being attacked. But the man in development understands something subtle. Every emotional reaction grants control to the other. By not reacting, he removes fuel from the psychological game. A simple example: in a veiled provocation at work or a social irony, He doesn't rush to respond. He observes, smiles slightly, changes the subject, or simply remains silent. This silence is not weakness. It is virtue in action, mastering the fortune of the moment. While weak men chatter to prove their worth, he preserves words like gold. And the less he reveals, the more others project intentions, fears, and insecurities onto him, precisely because decisions based on real human nature show that the unknown always frightens more than the obvious. Over time, this behavior creates a curious phenomenon. People begin to carefully choose their words around him. They whisper his name, speculate on his intentions, try to decipher his next moves. Not because he is threatening, but because his presence suggests consequence. The appearance of virtue arises effortlessly. He seems upright, solid, reliable, but never naive. This adheres to an ancient principle. It is better to be feared than loved, as long as one avoids being hated. Well-placed silence demands respect because it communicates self-control and inner strength. This is where the phrase takes shape and ceases to be a mantra. My silence demands respect. And as this aura solidifies, something begins to form on top of it, a protective layer, a refined mask, which will be the next stage of this silent transformation. The mentor observes that, sooner or later, every man learns an uncomfortable lesson. People judge more by appearances than by reality, not because they are bad, but because that's how real human nature works. Machiavelli already warned that the appearance of virtue is often worth more than virtue itself, especially in competitive environments. The mask of controlled power is not vulgar falsehood. It is a conscious strategy. It protects the core while projecting stability, authority, and selective predictability. The man who understands this does not surrender his emotions to chance. He chooses what to show, when to show it, and above all, what to conceal. In this logic, the end justifies the means as internal discipline. Preserving one's own position is more important than satisfying momentary impulses. This mask easily breaks when emotions escape unfiltered. A fit of rage, excessive justification, disproportionate enthusiasm, all these create visible cracks. People learn quickly where to apply pressure. Therefore, the rising man cultivates an expression of quiet authority, a serene face, economical gestures, aligned posture. In meetings, for example, he speaks less, listens more, and only intervenes when there is something decisive to add. He moves slowly, intentionally, because he knows that haste betrays anxiety. When he slows down, the world adapts to his rhythm. This is the calculated use of force in its most elegant form. It is not pushing, it is making the environment yield. Thus, virtue governs the fortune of the moment and not the other way around. True power, the mentor teaches, is not demonstrated by constant proof, but by the absence of the need to prove. Those who need to convince have already lost half their authority. By becoming indecipherable, they become unreachable. People cannot predict their reactions, nor manipulate them emotionally, and this creates a silent advantage. They don't explain themselves, they don't over-apologize, they don't expose themselves out of vanity. This mask doesn't imprison them, it liberates them. It functions as a shield that allows them to operate with clarity, while others wear themselves out trying to decipher them. And when someone realizes too late that they can't control them, they're already playing a game they don't understand. It is at this point that the phrase ceases to be a metaphor and becomes a tool. My mask is my weapon. And behind it, something even more powerful begins to emerge. The ability to mold respect through the right fear in the exact measure. The mentor teaches that there is an abysmal difference between inspiring fear and spreading terror. The former builds power, the latter generates chaos and hatred. Machiavelli was direct. It is safer to be feared than loved, because love depends on the mood of others, while fear is born from the anticipation of consequences. Here, fear is not a shout nor an explicit threat. It is perception. It is the silent feeling that crossing that man could cost something valuable. It could be status, access, opportunity, or belonging. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, requires understanding that human beings act more to avoid losses than to seek gains. Therefore, effective fear does not humiliate in public nor destroy unnecessarily. It suggests, insinuates, lingers. This fear is built when the advantage becomes sharp enough that no one wants to test it. Think of a manager who rarely punishes, but when they do so precisely, definitively, and in a way that is impossible to ignore. Or a socially respected man who never reacts impulsively, but who, when disrespected, simply cuts off access, silences invitations, withdraws support. There is no drama, only consequence. The secret lies in never revealing the full extent of the punishments. When people don't know how far you can go, imagination does the hard work for you. This is the calculated use of force in its purest form, minimum effort, maximum impact. Virtue governs the gesture, fortune bows to the result. But the mentor makes an essential point. Useless fear breeds isolation. Fear combined with need creates loyalty. When someone realizes they need you, whether for competence, position, vision, or access, and at the same time understands that contradicting you brings real losses, an almost unbreakable bond is born. Your own loyal armies are not formed by excessive affection, but by clarity of hierarchy and mutual benefit. The powerful man knows how to balance. He offers enough value to be needed and maintains enough respect not to be challenged. Thus, he avoids being hated while maintaining authority. His presence adjusts behaviors even before any word is spoken. And when he enters a room, something changes in the air, because everyone feels it even if they can't explain it. My presence generates respect and fear. This mastery of perception opens the way for the next inevitable step, the emotional detachment that renders any attack useless. The mentor often says that true power begins when nothing external can pull your inner strings. Machiavelli warned, "Never put your fortune in the hands of another," and this applies much more to emotions than to money. Emotional detachment doesn't turn a man into someone cold or empty. It makes him untouchable. It's the ability to feel without being dominated, to observe without getting lost. When praise doesn't inflame him and criticism doesn't destabilize him, he ceases to be predictable. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, demands accepting that whoever controls their emotions controls their decisions. Therefore, the man who desires sovereignty learns to create an inner space where no one else enters without permission. This distancing dismantles invisible games. People provoke expecting reactions. They seduce expecting attachment. They betray expecting despair. When none of this happens, they become confused. A practical example. In a heated discussion, while everyone raises their voices, he remains calm, speaks less, chooses his words carefully, or simply withdraws. There is no escape. There is dominance. In personal relationships, he doesn't beg for attention, nor does he succumb to the fear of loss. If something threatens his integrity, he withdraws without fanfare. Detachment clears the mind because it removes the noise. Intense emotions cloud judgment. Strategic distance sharpens perception. This is how decisions based on real human nature come to be made with functional coldness, not gratuitous cruelty. The mentor compares this process to a furnace. Stoicism is where steel is forged. By detaching oneself, one gains options. Nothing possesses one. No one controls one. One can negotiate without fear, leave without despair, wait without anxiety. The end justifies the means here, not as an excuse, but as maturity. Preserving one's own structure comes before pleasing anyone. This state creates a strange sensation in others. Attacks find no foothold, manipulations fail, emotional blackmail loses its power, and little by little, a reputation is built, that of someone who doesn't break, doesn't sell out, doesn't get lost. It is at this point that the phrase ceases to be an affirmation and becomes a silent statement. I am untouchable. From here, an inevitable question arises: how to use silence and words to transform this untouchability into direct influence. The mentor teaches that words are weapons, but weapons without a sheath wound the wielder. Silence is that sheath. It gives weight, direction, and lethality to what will be said. In politics guided by reality, not ideals, talking too much is offering maps to the enemy. The strategic man understands that silence is not the absence of communication. It is advanced communication. He denies others the ability to read him, predict him, or harm him. When he remains silent in the face of social expectations, quick answers, emotional explanations, public justifications, he creates a void that is unsettling, and the human being, uncomfortable with the void, tends to reveal himself. While one speaks to defend himself, the other remains silent to observe. This mastery becomes clear in simple everyday situations. In a negotiation, for example, after hearing a bad proposal, he doesn't react immediately. Silence, a firm gaze, an immobile body. The other side begins to talk more, explain, concede. Silence does the dirty work. In conflicts, he avoids the classic mistake of over-justifying. Excessive justification signals insecurity, almost a plea for absolution. The powerful man explains only what is necessary, if he explains at all. For him, words are not for venting, but for influencing. He speaks in terms of necessity, consequence, and inevitability. He doesn't discuss emotions, he defines scenarios. This is the calculated use of force in the verbal field. Few words, maximum impact. The combination of silence and words creates something rare, natural authority. When he speaks little, each sentence gains weight. People lean in, listen better, interpret more deeply. The appearance of virtue reappears, now reinforced by verbal restraint. He avoids being hated precisely because he doesn't humiliate with words. But neither does he lower himself to please. Better to be feared than loved, here, means being taken seriously. Gradually, his reputation is built as someone who doesn't waste words. Each sentence seems sculpted, not improvised. And when he finally decides to speak, the environment is already prepared to receive him. It's at this point that the phrase materializes with almost symbolic force. My silence speaks louder than kings. And with this dominance established, the next inevitable layer emerges, transforming physical presence into a tool that precedes any word. The mentor explains that presence is not something that is announced, it is something that is felt. It enters the room before the person and remains after they leave. Presence is an invisible force built when inner conviction overflows into the body. The man who masters this stage does not try to occupy space. He belongs to the space. Posture is the first sign. Firm feet, relaxed shoulders, straight spine, as if the ground owed him obedience. Nothing rigid, nothing theatrical. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, shows that the body communicates before speech. He who shrinks asks permission. He who stands firm imposes rhythm. Here, the end justifies the means in the most pragmatic sense. Mastering one's own body is mastering the perception of others. Rhythm is the second layer of this presence. The mentor always repeats, haste is the daughter of anxiety, and anxiety reveals vulnerability. The powerful man walks a little slower, sits calmly, responds after brief pauses. Not because he wants to seem important, but because he is not being pushed by the world. In social or professional settings, this creates an immediate contrast. While others gesticulate excessively, speak quickly, and rush through each other, he moves as if he had unlimited time. Eye contact completes the picture. It is neither aggressive nor evasive. It is firm and calm. Whoever looks away first loses psychological ground. The voice follows suit. Low, stable, deliberate. Each word sounds like a decision already made, not an opinion being tested. Scarcity closes the loop of presence. Being available all the time dilutes value. Whoever is everywhere becomes invisible. The strategic man doesn't chase after, doesn't beg for attention, doesn't over-offer himself. His own loyal armies don't form around those who wear themselves out too much, but around those who seem rare. This scarcity isn't childish play. It's a natural consequence of someone who chooses where to invest energy. Gradually, his presence begins to generate silence when he enters, subtle adjustments in behavior around him, anticipation before he speaks. He doesn't seek validation, he produces it, and when someone tries to ignore him, they discover that it's impossible not to notice his influence. At this point, the phrase ceases to be an internal affirmation and becomes an external reading of the environment. My presence is undeniable. And so, with the space dominated, the next step emerges almost automatically, learning to pull strings that no one sees. The mentor makes it clear that power is rarely exercised through direct force. It flows from a deep understanding of the human mind. Machiavelli already observed that men are driven, above all, by the fear of loss and the hope of gain. Whoever understands this plays on a different board. Each person carries hidden desires, silent insecurities, and fears they never verbalize. Politics, guided by reality, not by ideals, demands observation without haste, listening to what is said, noticing what is avoided, perceiving where the gaze hesitates. Observation becomes a weapon when it replaces haste with patience. While others speak to impress, he listens to map, and whoever maps controls. Over time, patterns emerge. Some crave validation, some fear exclusion, some desperately need recognition or security. The strategic man doesn't confront these points. He uses them. If someone seeks approval, he makes their validation scarce, sparingly distributed. If someone fears losing ground, he subtly reminds them of the fragility of that position without threatening, simply pointing out realities. In professional environments, this might mean praising in private and maintaining neutrality in public. In social relationships, it might simply mean not reacting as expected. Effortless, visible control is the ultimate sign of power. Here, the calculated use of force is almost invisible because it acts before conflict arises. The mentor emphasizes a crucial point. The powerful man doesn't respond to people. He plans his responses. Every silence, every word, every gesture is carefully chosen. Indispensability becomes the ultimate weapon. When others realize they need him to advance, decide, or prosper, the game changes. His own loyal armies are not built on empty promises, but on real value coupled with strategic unpredictability. He avoids being hated because he doesn't humiliate, but he also doesn't become replaceable. Gradually, invisible threads are formed, and people begin to act in ways that favor his interests without realizing it. It is at this point that the phrase ceases to be a metaphor and becomes a silent realization. I control the invisible strings. And when this control is established, the inevitable need arises for something even more solid, boundaries that no one dares to cross. The mentor teaches that power doesn't come from what one accepts, but from what one refuses to tolerate. Limits are the invisible architecture of authority. Weak men accept too much, forgive too quickly, yield frequently, and call it kindness. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, reveals something else. When someone realizes they can disrespect you without consequences, the aura dissolves. Limits are not cruelty. They are operational clarity. They tell the world how to treat you before the world decides for itself. The end justifies the means here as discipline. Preserving time, energy, and position is a priority. Without limits, all virtue is lost in the fortune of others. In practice, unforgiving boundaries manifest themselves in simple, repeated decisions. If someone wastes your time with pointless meetings, you end them early and don't reschedule. If they invade your emotional space with recurring dramas, you reduce access. If they test your patience with minor offenses, you respond with proportionate consequences, not with a lecture. A calm and firm no is the purest assertion of power. There's no lengthy explanation, no blame. Over-explaining reopens negotiations, deciding ends them. This calculated use of force avoids being hated because it doesn't humiliate, it only sets boundaries. Gradually, people learn where their lines begin and end, and they begin to respect them for self-preservation. The mentor emphasizes that external limits depend on internal limits. Discipline, with its indulgences, laziness, and impulses, is the invisible foundation. Those who lack self-control cannot maintain boundaries. Self-control is the ultimate limit. Sleeping when needed, training even without the will, studying what few study, cutting out habits that drain focus. This is how you build your own loyal armies, first within, then without. When someone realizes you respect yourself, it becomes costly to try to bend you. The aura solidifies, the presence hardens, and the environment adjusts. At this stage, the phrase ceases to be a promise and becomes a description of the terrain. My lines are unbreakable. And when no one dares to cross your boundaries, the inevitable shadow of the next step emerges, the rare, precise, and memorable application of force. The mentor teaches something few dare to face. All true authority casts a shadow. Machiavelli was clear in stating that well-applied cruelty can secure authority faster than misdirected mercy. Strategic cruelty is not emotional instability, nor pleasure in hurting. It is contained fire. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, demands, recognizing that certain limits are only respected when accompanied by the real possibility of pain. The powerful man does not constantly threaten. He implies that there is a point of no return, and precisely for that reason, he rarely needs to cross it. The end justifies the means here as a means of survival of the personal empire. Better a surgical wound than continuous bleeding. The key lies in the when and the how. Punishing all the time trivializes authority. Punishing rarely, but in an unforgettable way, creates precedents. Think of someone who tolerates minor flaws, observes patterns, but upon identifying disloyalty or direct defiance, acts with absolute precision. There are no shouts, no theatrical revenge. There is the withdrawal of opportunities, silencing of reputation, strategic exclusion from important circles. Often it is not the punishment itself that is frightening, but the cold clarity with which it is applied. This is the calculated use of force in its purest form. Minimal noise, maximum psychological impact. Doubt begins to work in their favor. No one knows exactly where the final limit lies. The mentor also points to an overlooked aspect. Cruelty begins with oneself. Being ruthless with one's own mediocrity, with weak habits, with comfortable excuses. Sleeping less when necessary, cutting out pleasures that hinder progress, abandoning easy paths. This inner toughness creates external coherence. Loyal armies follow leaders who demonstrate this standard. Mercy makes one admired, strategic cruelty makes one remembered. The balance between the two builds lasting respect and avoids being hated. At this stage, the man no longer needs to prove anything. His reputation does the hard work. And when someone considers testing him, they sense something in the air, a silent tension that anticipates the outcome. That's when the phrase takes on almost physical weight. My power is on the edge of steel. And from this contained blade is born the final stage, the crowning of untouchability. The mentor describes untouchability not as a title, but as a feeling others experience when near him. It's not something that is announced, it's something that is perceived. It's the moment when schemes cease to work, betrayals lose their effectiveness, and common games simply no longer achieve anything. The aura of inevitability becomes dense. People feel that any move against that man would demand too high a cost. He operates above the noise, outside of petty disputes, because he has already understood that true power is not proven, it is assumed. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, shows that whoever reaches this stage does not react to the world begins to react to him. This man doesn't seek validation, he generates it. He doesn't chase opportunities, he creates them by combining vision, silence, and positioning. When he enters a room, no one asks who he is, they simply adjust their behavior. He doesn't beg for loyalty, it arises as a consequence of necessity and accumulated respect. Machiavelli warned that fortune favors the bold, but boldness without strategy is suicide. Therefore, every step this man takes is calculated. Every silence carries intention. Every smile functions as a mask. The appearance of virtue remains intact, while virtue governs fortune behind the scenes. The calculated use of force is almost no longer necessary. Reputation already does the hard work. At the highest level, dominance is no longer noisy or chaotic. It becomes inevitable. People bow not because they are forced to, but because they cannot imagine a scenario where that presence does not weigh heavily. Self-made, loyal armies line up without explicit command. The untouchable man does not hurry, does not explain himself, does not defend himself. He simply is. And in this state, the game changes in nature. It is no longer about winning confrontations, but about existing as a silent reference of power. Everything that came before converges on this simple, almost disconcerting realization, not as an empty statement, but as a reality felt by everyone around. I am untouchable. If you've made it this far, you've already realized that power isn't an external event. It's an internal construct that overflows into the world. Nothing that's been said works if it remains only in the realm of ideas. Aura isn't desired, it's cultivated. Presence isn't faked, it's sustained. Limits aren't explained, they're imposed. The question now isn't whether these principles work, but exactly where you're still giving in, overreacting, over-explaining, accepting less than you deserve. In what situations do you still seek validation when you could simply decide? In what moments does the fear of losing something still control your actions? Look at your routine with brutal honesty. Where can you apply silence instead of justification? Where can you slow down to regain control? What boundaries need to be set today, not tomorrow, so that your presence can once again have an impact? Power doesn't come from grand, heroic gestures, but from small decisions repeated consistently. Each well-placed no, each restrained reaction, each strategic retreat builds something invisible, yet undeniable. And when this accumulates, the world responds. Not because you demanded it, but because it realized it no longer needs to ask. Now tell me, which of these stages do you feel you most need to develop at this point in your life? Where are you still sabotaging yourself through excessive emotion, exposure, or tolerance? Write in the comments, not to please me, but to make it clear to yourself where your change begins. And if you want to continue learning how to build personal power, magnetic presence, and psychological mastery applicable to real life, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, the idea isn't to motivate, it's to prepare you to command with silence, strategy, and inevitability.